statement. Good use of their meetings.
Objection!
Ah, found it! Yes! This kidnapping wasn't planned by just two people alone. And what kind of proof do you have of that? Because 4 suits were stolen. Quite simply, there were 3 kidnappers. 3? 4 costumes were stolen from the Wild Wild West area's back room. We found one of them in the kidnapper's hideout, but as for the other 3, we can assume they were being worn by 3 different people. We also found a set of 3 cups and 3 folding chairs that were used in the hideout. It all clearly points to a 3-man group, and I believe this 3rd person is the real mastermind behind the kidnapping. Who is this mastermind? I present to you the brains behind the kidnapping. The kidnappee.
Take that!
Aha! Lansamano? Yes, this abduction was in fact schemed up by Lance himself. Recall what he said when he appeared before us. Did you see the face of your kidnappers? No, I didn't see their faces, but 2. One was a woman. However, there were 3 kidnappers, which is in direct contradiction to what he said. But I know I only saw 2 people. This guy was being held hostage. It's possible he couldn't see all 3 of them. Yes. About when you were being held. I have my doubts about what happened then. Lance, would you mind telling us what happened while you were being held captive? I really don't remember much anymore, honest. But if I don't tell you at least something, you wouldn't believe me at all, will you? Alright. Lance's testimony. Okay, I'm gonna save here. He probably auto-save, but nevertheless. I was kidnapped yesterday morning. They had me shut in that room blindfolded the entire time. But the kidnappers suddenly disappeared around the time I heard rain falling outside. My hands were cuffed, but it was a stroke of luck that they left me alone. We can see the handcuff pretty loose. He can remove his hands anytime now. Just pretend to be caught. Look at him. I made my escape and ran away from that room as fast as I could. Like he peeked between his eyes to see if anybody is believing them. Yeah, he's faking. Fake. Through the underground passageway, I presume. Lance ... Are you okay? Sorry, I really didn't want to recall that horrible ordeal, but now you believe me, right? No, not quite yet. How can you not? Why'd you look at me with icy dagger in your eyes? Because he's a prosecutor, and because they're all like that. I'll have you know, Agent Long, a prosecutor's eyes are for discerning the truth. And should they be interpreted to be cruel at times, then so be it. There is a sticking point in Lance's testimony. Let's see what he offers up when I push a little. Rebuttal. Lance's testimony. I was kidnapped yesterday morning.
Hold it!
Can you tell us about when you were abducted in a little more detail? It was a strange morning. I felt like I was right in the middle of a great calm. And where were you when you experienced this calm? Our family garden, of course. Where else could it have been? Well, excuse me for asking. This child is more princess than prince. I was out taking a walk to shake off the morning blah. Then out of the blue, someone from behind clamps a hand over my mouth. You didn't see her attack her? They must have used some drug to knock me out. Because before I knew it, I was off in La La Land again. You went to LA! When I woke up, I was in the kidnapper's hideout, already all tied up. They had me shut in that room blindfolded the entire time.
Hold it!
By that room, you mean the room in the kidnapper's hideout, correct? Yeah, but I was blindfolded the whole time, so I didn't know that until I made my escape. Then you were in the same room as your kidnappers? They spoke in hushed tones, but I could catch bits of their conversation. It was definitely two people, and one of them was definitely a woman. I was so scared I could tell they were nearby, so I didn't dare make a move. But the kidnappers suddenly disappeared around the time I heard rain falling outside.
Hold it!
The kidnappers disappeared? The room fell into a sudden silence. I had been left behind like an unwanted mutt. And what do you mean by unwanted mutt?
What a pointless question. It's not like he's going to tell you anything new, you know.
It's a poetic simile. You should learn how to use them too. You may look refined on the outside, but it's no good if you're not refined on the inside as well. My hands were cuffed, but it was a stroke of luck that he left me alone.
Hold it!
Then those cuffs on your wrist, I suppose you're still cuffed in that case. I am well aware of I'm chained to reality. I couldn't find the key, so I'm afraid I'm stuck like this. Even though I escaped from that jail cell, I will forever be a prisoner. I made my escape and ran away from that room as fast as I could.
Hold it!
How did you manage to escape? I wanted to just get out of here, but the door leading outside was locked, which is why I had to use the underground passageway to make my escape. No, it wasn't! I remember our escape to be equally as hard. This is an invaluable piece of testimony. I mustn't let it go unexamined. The door leading outside was locked-eyed, so I had to use the underground passageway. No, it wasn't. It was just jammed by a sword.
Objection!
You say that the door leading out was locked, but was it really?
Exclamation mark, guy just dropped his cuff and you have to put his hand back in. No, I'm the victim here. You don't get it. We're talking about that room behind the saloon front, right? Look, I heard it took quite a few men to get that thing open, right, Shina? Yes, that's correct.
Then take a look at this!
What is that? A sword? It's not especially reliable one if it's broken like that.
Allow me to start from the end. My conclusion is that the door was never locked. It was simply held shut by this sword, which was used to jam the handle.
Ah! Exclamation mark.
Lance, even though your hands were cuffed together, you could still use them. If that's the case, then why did you just simply remove the sword and escape? Why didn't I? I was disoriented. Yes, that's it. I didn't notice it. As if I should accept such a bold-faced lie. You locked yourself in that room because you had to make yourself look like the victim. But you did not, in fact, possess the key to the door. That is why you used the prop sword to improvise and create a prison of your very own.
Not so fast!
You've been making this guy out to be one of the kidnappers for some time now. I wonder if you've forgotten something very important along the way.
And what would that be?
A motive! What else? We got a motive. He's got a threat letter from Love Tender. Lender Tender. Do you honestly think that an upright, pure boar like him would hatch up a completely pointless scheme just such as kidnapping himself?
Objection!
This proves that Lance did indeed have a motive to commit this crime. Yeah. Oops.
The love letter.
Take that!
To put it simply, Lance has a very urgent need for money. This is hardly your typical love letter. It is in fact a collections bill. It appears our upstanding boy has accumulated quite a debt. Isn't that right, Lance?
Looks like it's hard being the son of a rich man, too. It must be rough when you have to resort to stealing from your old man.
Alright, I give up. I abducted myself.
Lance!
It's over, Lolly. In this life, we really are bound to our fates after all. All I wanted was to go with you to a new town, somewhere where no one would know us. I wanted us to be well off with that $1 million, but now that dream is over.
That looked like a kid that was locked up. Yeah.
Oh, Lance! Then you are giving yourself up? Yes. I had planned to run away from this world with my lolly. Oliver even helped us with the plan, but then he had to go and stab us in the back. He turned on you? Maybe he didn't want to split the ransom money, that's my guess. It happened almost right after you made the drop-off. When we were alone, he attacked me all of a sudden.
Oh.
After a brief struggle, I was able to contain him and keep him under control. We left him inside that room as Lolly and I made our escape. We wore a different costume and split up. Lolly left first in the Blue Badger costume. I left second with the Proto Badger costume. That would mean the person Officer Meekins saw was Miss Pops. But right then, the old man just had to wake up. I was careless and he tackled me pretty hard from behind. Then, Oliver put on a bad badger costume, took the suitcase with the $1 million and ran.
Oh, I get it now. Because he's right-handed and the right hand was jammed with the gun, he needed to rip off the gun so he can grab the money.
I contacted Lolly right away and warned her that he had a gun. They had no idea that they were related, so I thought that it could only end badly. Still don't believe it! That person was not my father! Because if he was, I just killed my own father! Yep, you did. Lolly, then it really was you?
Chain of events.
That man was not my father! I mean, because at the stadium, there was a bad badger pulling the suitcase with a $1 million in it. But that badger pointed his gun at me, aiming to shoot me dead! That's why I used the gun I got from Lance. There was a gunshot, the other person crumpled to the ground, and I ran scared for my life.
I think the big picture is finally coming into focus, don't you?
Lolly, forgive me. I didn't think it would turn into something so frightening. If only I could have protected you.
So, Miss Pops, she shot her own dad without even knowing who he really was?
If what she says is true.
Are you saying she's lying? But why would she lie about something like that? What purpose would it serve?
You would be surprised how often people lie without even realizing it themselves, Kay.
Huh? What's that supposed to mean?
What I mean is, listen very carefully to her confession once more and you'll see.
Okay, so let's read it again. Chain of events. At the stadium, there was a bad badger putting the suitcase with the $1 million in it. That badger pointed his gun at me, aiming to shoot me dead. Okay. The thing is, either he removed the gun to grab the money, or that wasn't him in the other bad badger suit. Maybe either Lance took the other bad badger suit so he could have a gun and gave it to Lauren. If that was the case, that gun would fire blanks. That wouldn't be a real gun. Deacon had a real gun, but he couldn't able to use it because of his suit. I'm gonna press everything to be sure.
Hold it!
Please calm down. Let's slowly talk through this. But all you have to do is simply tell us what happened at the stadium. Leave it to us to search out the truth. Can you do that for me?
Alright, so at the stadium, there was a bad badger pulling the suitcase with a $1 million in it.
Hold it!
That was the ransom money, wasn't it?
Yes, that's how I was able to identify Mr. Deacon almost immediately. It was all thanks to what Lance told me.
And what did he tell you?
Well, he called me on my cell phone and told me that Mr. Deacon had betrayed us and had ran up with him ransom money. And about how he had a gun. But that badger pointed his gun at me, aiming to shoot me dead.
Hold it!
Were you able to clearly see the gun?
Yes, I got a very good look at it while it was pointed at me. Oh, Father, why would you try to shoot me?
Do you really think a father would shoot his own daughter, Mr. Edgeworth?
I don't know.
I don't want to believe it myself.
But it's true, my father's left arm was raised with a gun in it.
No. That was the detail I needed.
Pointed straight at me. I'm about to die, I thought.
Miss Pops! Please calm down and take a deep breath. And then, would you allow me to please hear that last statement one more time?
Yes, of course. That badger pointed a gun in his left hand at me, aiming to shoot me dead.
Okay, so there are two possibilities. Either show the Bible saying that the gun on the on the bad badger is on the right, or the fact that the father is right-handed, so he couldn't shoot from the left. I'm gonna go with the Bible first.
Objection!
No.
Even after looking at this, can you still claim what you just said to be true?
Actually, I can.
She showed you.
Yeah.
He's laughing pretty hard at you, Mr. Edgeworth.
Yes, I know, but I refuse to allow him to ruffle my feathers. I'm going to remain calm and collected and find my contradiction.
Objection!
Yeah, that one make more sense.
I have here a dossier on your father. And according to this, your father was right-handed.
Then
The person pointing a gun at you from atop the stage was not Mr. Deacon.
Knuckle back!
Hold on there, Mr. Prosecutor. I think you need to take a refresher course. The bad badger has a motor gun attached to his right hand, which is why the only hand could have held the real gun with was his left. Isn't it possible they went down like that?
Agent Lon, were you paying attention to what Miss Pop was saying? Then again, I suppose I can't expect someone who has never set foot in court to catch it.
Enough with the smugness. Out with it already.
Miss Pop told us earlier.
there was a bad badger pulling the suitcase with the $1 million in it.
According to you, the bad badger had the gun in his left hand, which would mean that he was pulling the suitcase with his right hand. Is that correct, Miss Pops?
Yes, exactly. And I'm sure it was the bad badger. It has those huge sunglasses on its face.
But if that's the case, even I can see that it's a huge contradiction. So yeah. So probably what happened is that there was the head of the bad badger, but the body of someone else.
Yes, Miss Pops claims to have seen the bad badger. And yet the bad badger had both of his hands full. These two pieces of information contradict each other, so one must be wrong.
It wasn't the bad badger, both hands were not occupied, or both are correct. I'm gonna say both are correct.
They are both correct.
Impossible! That just leaves us with an irresolvable contradiction.
Miss Pop's entire statement rests on the fact that she saw his sunglasses and beard. But what if that bad badger wasn't wearing pants on his lower half? Thus, this proved that there was a way for the bad badger to freely use both of his hands. The head.
Take that!
The costume has two parts to them, a head and the body.
Oh, I get it now.
The head Miss Pop saw was probably really the head of the bad badger. However, it is not possible that the body was that of an entirely different badger.
A different badger?
Yes, or to put it more bluntly, I believe it was the lower half of this badger. The body of the bad badger Miss Pop saw really belonged to the proto.
Take that!
What? The heck is it?
It's the proto badger. Yes, it's a simple matter of process of elimination. Miss Pops was wearing the blues badger's costume, so we can eliminate that one. The pink badger is of the wrong color, which would have been incredibly obvious. All that is left is the proto badger costume. Miss Pops, who was the one who wore the proto badger costume? Lance.
That would be Lance.
Not so fast!
Are you saying what I think you are? That Lance Amano donned the bad badger's head and pretended to be Mr. Deacon? On top of which, he plotted to shoot Miss Pops while wearing that hideous thing.
The stage was set up in the stadium was nothing more than that, a setup. And its purpose was to lead Miss Pops into believing she had committed murder. Standing there in front of Miss Pops and pretending to be the victim, it was all done so that she would pull the trigger. I have no idea what you're talking about. Why exactly would I have had to do all that, huh? There is but one reason. Lance Amano, you are the real culprit behind the murder of Mr. Oliver Deacon.
What?
No! That's slander. Take it back. You take it back right now. Just out of curiosity, Lance, which is your dominant hand?
I'm left-handed, but what does that have to do with anything?
It depends. According to Miss Pops, her attacker held the gun in his left hand.
Not so fast!
Ah, who is that one-hand that doesn't prove a thing? Besides, now you're just being absurd. It's not like the Proto Badger is bulletproof. One misfire, and I would have found himself dead, right?
Objection!
Of course, logically, if he had been shot, he probably wouldn't be here with us. But I believe he had thought of that as well, and prepared accordingly. And this should be all the evidence you need. This is how Lance made sure that he wouldn't be hit by a bullet. The model gun.
Take that!
We found one half of a bad badger costume in the hideout, a broken one. It was not the same one that the victim was wearing. Plus, it was missing something. And that something is the model gun that the bad badger carries, which can fire blanks.
What?
Miss Pops, where is the gun you use now?
I threw it away into the sea.
That makes it a bit tough to verify what it was. Although I believe we can safely assume that it was the model gun in question.
Not so fast!
I've heard enough. All you've been spouting so far is pure conjecture.
I admit that as long as the model gun is lost to us, I cannot prove I'm right. However, I can say that the probability that I am right is very high.
Okay, let's pretend that you're right then, and that the murder at the stadium was a fabrication. In that case, where do you think the murder really took place, Mr. Prosecutor?
I don't know yet.
Ha! I knew you were full of it.
However, I do believe that the murder took place during an earlier time frame.
Hold it! Please wait a second. It's simply not possible. Because I saw Mr. Deacon after he was restrained by Lance.
She saw the victim in the state of being restrained? No, you saw the costume, you didn't see the guy in it. What Miss Pop saw?
I came back to the hideout long after the other two. By that time, Lance has already subdued and restrained Mr. Deacon. He had tied Mr. Deacon securely to the beam in the room next door. After that, the two of us put on our costume and made our escape.
So Mr. Deacon must have escaped after the two of you left, right?
We thought I would attract too much attention if we left together, so I left first. We planned to meet up again at the stage in the stadium. But then as I was walking through the park, I got a call from Lance on my cell phone.
Oliver managed to escape. It looked like he was waiting until I was alone. He also stole the gun from me at the time.
And then the murder happened. Mr. Deacon must have overheard their plans to meet up at the stage. Well, Mr. Prosecutor, Miss Pop saw the victim with her own eyes. Which means that the victim was still alive at that time, wouldn't you agree?
Why does that sound wrong to me? There must be something amiss about this account. Let's see what happens when I examine it in more detail.
I came back to the hideout long after the other two.
Hold it!
When exactly did you arrive back at the hideout?
It was after we had picked up the ransom money.
And where were you up until the time you returned?
I was scouting the park out and making preparation for our escape. I walked around in the various areas looking for the best route.
Ah, so each of them had their own roles to play.
After I was done, I went back to the hideout. By that time, Lance had already been subdued and restrained Mr. Deacon.
Hold it!
How did Lance look at the time?
He looked shocked. He also looked a little down when I saw that sadness in his eye.
Thank you, that's enough for now. What of Mr. Deacon? What was his situation like?
He had tied Mr. Deacon securely to the beam in the room next door.
Hold it!
You are sure that it was Mr. Deacon that you saw?
Yes, I am certain of what I saw.
Did you go into the other room to check?
Lance said it was best if I didn't get too close to him. Lance, he's such a kind soul.
Then are you telling me that you did not confirm that it was Mr. Deacon for yourself?
I checked through the slit in the door that separates the two rooms. He had the Bad Badger head on, so I'm absolutely sure.
Ah, what he saw was us. We had the Bad Badger helmet on.
That just had to be Mr. Deacon.
She saw a Bad Badger head.
The captain had a Bad Badger head on, so I'm absolutely sure it was Mr. Deacon.
I'm gonna try this.
Objection!
Yes.
Miss Pops, the person you saw was not Mr. Deacon at all.
Huh?
The person you actually saw was this person.
Kay Faraday, Lance Amondo, Miles Edgeworth.
It was me.
Huh? The person I saw was you, Mr. Edgeworth?
I always thought it was a bit odd. Why would the kidnapper abduct me even after I had handed over the ransom? It's not as though I saw the face of the kidnappers. If I were then, I would have just taken the $1 million and ran. But in the end, there was no point to it all. It was all to make me look like Mr. Deacon. And if that was the reason for which I was abducted, then I believe we can assume that the victim was already dead at the time. Well, Lance, am I right? You showed Miss Pops a person, namely me, with a Bad Badger head on. And then made your costume escape together, or so you pretended.
What do you mean he pretended?
Exactly that. I believe Lance watched you escape and then doubled back to the hideout. Probably to come and remove the Bad Badger's head from my unconscious self. And to create this fake prison with a prop sword, he then escaped via the passageway.
Hold your tongue, boy. Don't get caught up in that tidal wave of words coming out of the Mr. Prosecutor's mouth.
Tidal wave?
We heard a lot come out of you, but I yet to see a shred of evidence. The victim's betrayal and his subsequent detainment. All of that could have happened while you were out cold.
That's right. You were out for quite a while, Mr. Prosecutor. Even if that was the case, Miss Pops would have still seen me tied to that beam.
I was scared of Mr. Deacon, so I didn't go into the next room. So, I really have no idea if you were in there or not, Mr. Edgeworth.
You see, it seems that you cannot prove a thing. Hold it! Who said that? My, please wait.
Mr. Amano.
Ho! Miles, my boy, it looks like you're really giving it your all. And Lance, it's not good to cause trouble for others.
Dad!
Let's see, you are the one in charge of the investigation, correct? Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry that my son has been nothing but trouble. This probably won't make up for anything, but I have some evidence for you. Oh, do you now? A guy comes in and brings the Bad Badger costume.
Is that what I think it is?
It's the Bad Badger costume the victim was wearing, and a gun. It looked wet. There are two guns. There's a hole in the abdomen, and some shard in the inside of the helmet. I couldn't wait around for the police, so I went and found these myself. It appears that they were disposed of in the sea. Is there no one in this country who actually obeys the law? There now. Agent Lang, please calm down. What the heck is that scrap of paper? This appears to be a letter from the Chief of Police. Please allow Mr. Amano complete freedom to do as he sees fit, it says. What? The Chief of Police? What the? Just who does he think he is? This person who wields the highest authority in this area. There now. There is no need to be so upset. I'm not a cop from this land, so I'm not bound by the laws of your country. No. This wasn't meant to strong-arm you into anything. It's just a request. I'm only asking that you please respect the laws of the land. I can't really say no to that. However, returning to the topic at hand. It doesn't matter who found the evidence. Its value remains unchanged. Alright, now let's take a look at this new evidence. I already got the result back. I had a special forensics research lab that I'm on good terms with conduct the test. Oh, wait. I had a special forensic research lab that I'm on good terms with conduct the test. They verified that the blood on this costume belonged to Oliver. As for the gun, the only fingerprints they could find were yours, Lauren.
What?
You disappoint me, Miles. I can't believe that you would cause my son such stress and heartache. Thank goodness I was able to find the final pieces of evidence. With this, you will have no reason left to push my poor boy around. Oh my god. If I remember correctly, he created fake evidence to get his son out of trouble.
That's it? These are the case-making pieces of evidence? Huh, I'll be the judge of that. I won't rest until I inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. This bullet hole.
It looks kind of burned around the edges.
Wait, those burn marks were left by the gunpowder. This is the most important fact.
Yeah, if there are burn marks, that means he was shot at point blank. Why is that?
Because it's proof that the victim was shot at point blank range.
Victim's costume worn at time of shooting. Gunpowder burn is proof he was shot from point blank. Victim's costume data updated by organizer. What's this? It looks like there's something inside the costume's head. Hey, they sparkle. I bet they're really valuable. Sorry, they're just pieces of a mirror. But why are they in here? Mirror fragments. These were found inside the victim's costume. Why were they there in the first place? Those are the haunted house's mirror. The mirror was broken there. Oh wait, there was also a broken mirror at the hideout. Shit. Could this gun be the actual murder weapon? Revolver used to kill Deacon was originally stolen from guard by victim during escape. It looks just like the model gun. Well, are these not the most definite pieces of evidence you've ever seen?
Thank you, Dad. This should be enough to convince even Mr. Edgeworth over there.
Decisive evidence.
Make no mistake, there are fingerprints on that murderous gun, and they prove that it was Lolly who killed Oliver. But Oliver was also after Lolly's life, so Mr. Edgeworth, even you must see that Lolly was only acting in self-defense. The fingerprints of the weapon, huh?
Oh no, this isn't helpful at all.
Look, Mr. Edgeworth, all I want to do is save Lolly. But in the end, all I can do is watch on as she takes the punishment for her crimes. That may be all you can do. However, I still have a case to solve and a job to do. The job of unraveling your insidious lie.
You wound me. Why won't you believe me, even in the face of all this evidence? Rebuttal.
Make no mistake, there are fingerprints on that murderous gun.
Hold it!
Those fingerprints, are you sure they belong to Miss Pops?
There's no mistake about it. Through my connection, I had the best forensic techniques money can buy performed.
I find that to be a bit peculiar.
What? Are you trying to pick an argument with me?
What should I do? Should I raise an objection?
No, not yet.
Perhaps I should wait and see how this pans out first.
They proved that it was Lolly who killed Oliver.
Hold it!
You sure are calm for someone who is accusing his own girlfriend of murder.
You have it all wrong. Allowing her to pay the price is a form of love. She says that she also wants to pay back her debt to society, but Oliver was also after Lolly's life.
Hold it!
Why do you believe that the victim was set on taking Miss Pop's life?
Suppose it's because he wanted to silence her, to keep her quiet because she knows the truth behind the kidnapping.
In that case, why did he not target you as well?
That's because he knew that if he killed me, he wouldn't be able to control my father. Right you are! Even if it cost me billions, I would have had the killer found.
I believe he didn't kill you for an entirely different reason, however. I digress.
Look, more than why he didn't kill me, I'm worried about what will happen to Lolly. So, Mr. Edgeworth, even you must see that Lolly was only acting in self-defense.
Justify self-defense? I suppose there's a possibility, given the circumstances.
Really? Oh, thank goodness.
However, self-defense was not necessary in this case.
What do you mean?
Miss Pops is innocent. She didn't do anything, so why would she need to defend herself from nothing?
You still don't believe a word I say, do you?
His entire argument hinges on the fact that her fingerprints are on the gun. However, the truth does not lie there. It lies in whatever he is hiding from me, but not for long.
Hold it!
I'm gonna raise an objection.
Frankly, I don't believe that Miss Pop's prints should be on that gun to begin with. And the reason why Miss Pop's prints should not be on the gun is... she was given the fake. Used to kill Deacon, was already stolen from a guard. So, yeah, this is supposed to be the gun that Deacon had. Okay, I'm gonna try the model gun.
Take that!
With this piece of evidence, there's no reason for it to have left prints at all. Which piece is that? Oh. Look here, this is what I speak of. Oh. They were wearing costumes. They're not supposed to, their fingerprints should not have been on the gun. They were both in costume. Your logic is so hard to follow. You should provide a map. Okay, so I'm gonna... No. There are fingerprints on the gun. No. Because everybody was in costume.
Objection!
No?
Hold it!
Oh, shit.
Take that! Hold it!
I'm gonna save here. The costume. Okay, stolen costume updated. Blue Badger, Lauren Pops, Proto Badger, Lance Amano, Bad Badger, Olivia Deacon. Okay, I'm gonna go with stolen costume.
Take that!
There you go. It's simply not possible for Miss Pop to have left any prints on the murder weapon. Because while she was at the stadium, Miss Pops was wearing a costume. But there have been no mistakes. We found fingerprints. Now, the fingerprints that you found was probably belonging to Deacon. Well, Miss Pops, do you remember touching the gun at all at any time?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did hold it for a bit back in the hideout. I handed it off to Mr. Deacon when he and Lance left for the haunted house.
To retrieve the ransom money, I suppose. And there you have it. That is when Miss Pop's prints found their way onto the gun. Yeah. Do you understand now, Mr. Amano? The fingerprints do nothing to prove that Miss Pops is the murderer. But you still don't have anything to prove that she isn't the killer, right? You seem very adamant about insisting that your girlfriend is a cold-blooded killer. Oh, Lance! What? No way. I'm incredibly worried about her. But that doesn't change the fact that you don't have any evidence, right? That's where you're wrong. I have the evidence. What? How? The story that Miss Pops killed the victim at the stage at the stadium. The whole affair is simply not true because that was not the real crime scene, but a setup. This proves what the real murder was not committed at the stadium at all. The shard.
Take that!
This piece of evidence proves that the real crime scene is not in fact the stadium. Mr. Prosecutor, I'll have to rate that piece of logic as 0 out of 10. 0? It's at least a 6.8 out of 10. At this rate, Lolly's going to wind up getting arrested. Must remain calm and think clearly. In the murder did not happen in the stadium,
Then the scenario where the victim was up on the stage and Miss Pops went down below. There must be something that invalidates it. This proves that the real murder was not committed at the stadium at all. Okay, I'm gonna try the missing gun again. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna have to reload.
Take that!
Okay. Let's see. The autosave is there. Let's see where it leads us. Oh, so I have to bring the stolen costumes again. Alright, it's okay.
Take that!
I got more life now. Okay, this is where I'm saving. This proves that the real murder was not committed at the stadium at all. I can examine it. They found Mrs. Pop's fingerprint on this gun. Can you let me hold it for a sec? I shouldn't if you don't know how to handle it. Besides, Miss Pop's prints are on it. Look, I'm wearing gloves. It'll be okay. I just want to take a look at it, that's all. It's not like I'm going to run off with it. The only things I don't return are treasures. Stealing either one would land you in jail, you know. There's a Mustang engraved on it. There's nothing. Okay, I'm gonna try the dossier again.
Take that!
No. I presented that, but I don't know why it doesn't work.
Take that!
Yeah. Okay, victim costume again. Because we proved that on the stage it wasn't that costume that was there, it was Lance. I'm gonna present it again.
Take that!
Let us take another good look at the costume the victim was wearing. Then I believe you will see why I insist he was not shot at the stadium. This is the part of the costume that proves it.
Oh, so the shards, if I don't present it like that, doesn't work?
Take that!
If you look in this area, all will become clear.
This area? Do you really think that sort of vague statement is going to fly? Alright, so the pants. Oh, the wound is on the pants.
Take that!
The burn around this bullet hole was made when the victim was shot at point-blank range.
Ah, so then you mean the murder Miss Solbach saw at the stadium really was...
Yes, she saw two people, but they were separated by a distance. If the victim was indeed shot from below the stage, there shouldn't have been gunpowder burn.
Ah! And look at you, Mr. Smarty Pants Prosecutor. Since you seem to know all the answers, why not tell us where the real crime scene is then?
Lance set me up to look like Mr. Deacon back at the hideout. If that's the case, then the murder must have happened prior to that. And the location where Lance and the victim were at just before I was in prison was... I got it! I know the real scene of the murder. The real location in which Mr. Deacon was killed is here.
The haunted house.
Take that!
I think it's not unreasonable to assume the murder took place in the haunted house.
The haunted house?
Yes, and I have proof that it is highly likely that the victim was killed there. What proves that the real scene of crime was the haunted house?
Now I can use the fucking mirror shard.
Take that!
These were inside the costume the victim was wearing. They're fragments of a mirror.
A mirror? What does that have to do with anything?
Indeed, you don't exactly expect to find pieces of a mirror inside of a costume.
Yeah, that's actually pretty dangerous.
However, there is one place I can think of where there's a plethora of mirror fragments. And that is the haunted house. Lance Amato, I propose that you killed Mr. Deacon with the revolver in the haunted house. Like this is a clue game. I don't have any proof, but I do the suggestion. Show me your cards! After that, you stole the Blue Badger Mobile to move his body to the Wild Wild West area. The timing of when the Blue Badger Mobile was stolen confirmed this as a fact. Miles, my boy, say no more. I'm gonna call Saul. Sorry, Mr. Amano, but I cannot do that. Be quiet. Yes, please do something. Stop that boy from speaking any more nonsense. Ernest Amano, correct? I meant you. Now be quiet, Gramps. How dare you? I don't need words. The only thing I require is evidence. Decisive evidence. And to call these mirror bits decisive is a bit too presumptuous, Mr. Prosecutor. What? China! Wasn't there a mirror in the kidnapper's hideout? Yes, there was a mirror there. A mirror that's for the haunted house. See? Isn't it possible the fragments got into the costume there? But Agent Lang, there were no fragments on the floor, so the probability is very low. Probability? Ha 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 ha! Lang Ji says, untruths, Pat. The word probability does not exist. The only thing that does is definite proof. The question, Mr. Prosecutor, is, do you have the definite proof you need? Well, Mr. Edgeworth, do you? Do I have solid evidence that proved the murder took place at the haunted house? The answer is no. See? So since you don't have any, shut up! I don't have the evidence yet, but I'm certain the murder occurred around the time I turned the ransom over, because there was some noise. At that time, the only people at the haunted house, beside myself, were Lance and Mr. Deacon. If I can prove that the murder took place at the haunted house, then I can prove Lance's guilt in connection to the murder. What now, Mr. Edgeworth? Agent Lang, I have a special request. Yeah? I would like to prove to you that the scene of the crime was indeed the haunted house. Why in the world are you asking the werewolf for permission? Because I don't really have a choice if I want to find the truth. Alright. Permission granted. But you're not to touch a single thing, got it? That won't be a problem. All that's important to me is that the truth to be brought to light. It doesn't matter by who or how it's done, as long as it is. Shh. China! I'm here. Put in the paperwork for the authorization immediately. Understood. I'll go get the Gatewater Group's approval. Hold it! Who was that? No. Let's hold on for a second. There is no need to obtain approval. Mr. Amano? Agent Lang? If you would please take a look at this. What is this? China! Read this for me! It's the deed to the haunted house. The deed? Read it out loud! Gatewaterland Inc. hereby bequeaths the property known as the haunted house to Mr. Amano for the lump sum of $1 million paid full in cash. What? As you can see, I am now the legal owner of the haunted house. Are you kidding? When did you? Just now. I mean, do you think I'm walking around with toy money around my belt? This is real cash. I ran into the owner of the park earlier and we made the deal almost immediately. How quickly things move when you can prepare $1 million in the blink of an eye. That $1 million you paid? Don't tell me it was. Oh, that's right. This disgusting suitcase belongs to you, doesn't it? I don't have any more use for it, so you may have it back now. The ransom money. You used the ransom money?
my Lance is a good boy. He even apologized for the kidnapping a bit earlier. So I do believe that I will forgive him. After all, he did return the ransom money. So I'm gonna be paying back his debt to the lender-tender agency and shop. So that's the way things are. So if you would please discuss things with me from now on. Discuss? What is there to discuss? Why, permission to enter the haunted house, of course. Oh.
While we were busy listening to Lance's story, Mr. Romano was out there preempting us.
Oh, and by the way, permission to search the haunted house is denied. End of discussion. Now, if you will excuse me. Agent Lang, I want you to arrest that girl. And Miles, you should hurry on home now, my boy, before I really lose my temper.
Mr. Romano definitely has the deck stacked in his favor here. What should I do? If I leave it like this, the truth will be lost forever.
To be continued.
Should I stop here? I can save here. But it's a good, I believe it's a good, tension here to stop it here. I've been streaming for 7 hours. That's long enough. And my throat is getting sore. Even if I do feed myself,